Today, I invited mindfulness expert Sandy Cusano to guide us as we take a closer look at the practice of mindfulness and to get a deeper understanding of how to use mindfulness as a tool in our lives for success. Sandy is a San Francisco-based speaker, author, and certified coach who helps Asian women across the globe create lives that they love. Her mission is to increase mental fitness of women and girls so they feel empowered, worthy, and deeply connected to what gives them meaning and joy. Sandy has trained in mindfulness-based cognitive therapy at the Oxford Mindfulness Center in England. In addition, she holds certifications in neuroscience for business from the MIT Sloan School of Management and the Human Potential Institute, a global pioneer within the field of coach training and human development. So thank you for joining us today, Sandy, and we're so happy to have you.
Thanks, Christina. I'm really excited to be here.
Yes, yes. So we started with viewing a video of mindfulness and how the brain works. This video pretty much provided us a snapshot of how the brain responds to the various functions and emotions our body and brain experiences. So first things first, Sandy, I wanted to ask you this question of what is neuroplasticity and how it relates to our brain and mindfulness?
Sure, great question. Neuroplasticity is our brain's ability to modify, change, adapt to both structure in both structure and function throughout life in response to what we are experiencing. It's about changing our neural networks to change their connections and behavior to all the new information and sensory information that we're receiving. So what does that mean? It means that once upon a time, scientists and we all believe that we had our brain went through development through infancy and childhood and our teenage years. And then once it became an adult, it was believed that the brain was set. And now science and technology has shown that that is not the case, that our brain is continuously changing and can change. So that kind of saying, you can't teach an old dog, old dog new tricks. That's right. Not true. It's actually the fact that as long as you have focus and will to bring change, your brain can adapt and experience new behaviors, changing of habits, and create new neural pathways. So that is neuroplasticity. It means that your brain is plastic and it can kind of be bendable and flexible.
I love that. So that's great revelation from old school to new school, that our brains and the way we function can change as long as we have focus and we're committed to that change. I also wanted you to explain and differentiate between the old brain and the new brain, again, in relationship to the practice of mindfulness.
Sure. So old brain is what you might have heard before, something called survival brain or lizard brain. So it's the part of the brain that was first formed. That's first formed in embryo. It is really attached to just your early ancestors. And you will also be familiar with phrases like fight, flight, freeze. It is what happens when you feel threat or danger and how your brain responds. So that's kind of old brain.
Okay.
And old brain's function is only to respond to threats or danger or stress, right? It can't be creative. It can't problem solve. It can't think through complex ideas. It's just about reacting to the stress around you. Whereas new brain is what formulates the last part of your brain, so the newest part of your brain before you enter the world. And it is the part of your brain that can process complex ideas, problem solve, feel empathy, express empathy. And so those are the two differences. And so what we're trying to do with mindfulness is move from your reactive old brain which is helpful, but not in all situations, and allow yourself the ability to have choice in how you react to the world versus just being on autopilot. So that is why mindfulness really helps to expand and help you understand how to use your new brain.
Right. I like that when you said choice, it allows the individual to have choice in going from the old brain into the new brain. So this practice of mindfulness gets us to that place where we're choosing to respond differently instead of always being in a negative reactive state, which happens. I mean, because that is part of our brain, right? That's something we necessarily can't escape. However, we can make a choice to say, okay, this is how I'm going to respond in this situation, or regroup, if you will.
Sure, great point. And it's what you highlighted, Christina, is that none of us are going to be perfect at it. Even those that practice mindfulness, it is a practice. It goes throughout life, and you're not going to be perfect at it. You're going to have moments where you're going to react in your kind of survival brain, and that's perfectly fine. It's just being able to catch yourself and again have that choice. So if a tiger is chasing after you, you want your
You have to
survival
be a
brain to
survival
work,
brain.
right? You don't
Right,
want to
right.
sit there and think, should I run or should I not? You just go, right? Or
Right.
whatever you feel, or hide, or whatever your body tells you to. But if an authoritative figure is yelling at you, your body will react to that as if it was a tiger in the bushes about to pounce.
Right.
Right. But the reality is that that's not what's happening. If you're just being perhaps yelled at because you didn't do an assignment, or you are experiencing some sort of stress in that way, your body thinks that there's a threat out there, but reality is there's not. And so you want to be able to tap into the part of your brain that actually not respond to a physical threat, but respond to more of an emotional threat.
I like that. That's good. And you providing those examples, because sometimes it does cause to respond to a physical threat. But in situations where you're identifying this practice and you want to move yourself to a new space emotionally, and that is true. And it talks about that in the video, how our body has functions. We'll react. We'll get nervous. Our heart will start beating fast, or we'll start sweating. And those are bodily functions that we know that how we're going to respond. We may want to kind of readjust, or we may need to, like you said, hit the ground running and kind of respond in that fight or flight environment. But no, I appreciate that. Thank you so much. I have here, how does the practice of, we may have touched on this, but how does the practice of mindfulness help change our brain and how it develops? We touched on some of those points. Do you have anything else or any other examples you want to share when it comes to changing, I guess, from that old brain into that new brain, and how we want that new brain to continue to develop? So it's almost like that's a normal response for us, not something that we have to kind of force ourselves to do, if you will, or is it something that we'll always maybe have that back and forth to just be sure we're choosing that right space?
Sure. What I can share with you here is that a really interesting statistic. So average adults, 47% of the time are not paying attention to what they're doing.
47%, you said?
40% of the time.
40%.
So all of us, 40% of the time, the average adult does not pay attention to 40% of their waking time. So we can definitely do better than that. Right. And so what it's saying, and what mindfulness practice does, it helps us really connect with our present moment. Right? So 40% of the time, if we're not paying attention, it means that we're not being mindful, we're being mindless, right? We're just kind of off in thought, off in story, right? So something could have happened to us, and then we just hit the replay button and replay over and over again, or what if I didn't do that, or what if so and so said it this way. We just
Mhm.
play these movies in our mind, and that is being mindless, right? We are creating these ultra scenarios that are not real.
Right.
Our bodies react to them as though it's real. Our emotions get driven as though they're real, but they're just stories. There's nothing really real about them. The only real moment was that moment that happened one time, right?
Yes, that's the only real. You're right. The only real moment is when it happened.
Yeah, exactly.
And
So
most of the time, that's the past.
yeah, and
Mm,
everything else kind of, and so it's not to say that you can't problem solve or think about, situations that have happened to you, but that mindless replay really doesn't help serve you in any way in coming up with solutions, because all it's doing is keeping you stuck in old brain, keeping you stuck
mm,
in private
yeah.
brain. So how does mindfulness practice help you? It helps you anchor into your present moment,
Yes.
right? So who you are right now outside of any other scenario. And when you are able to do that consistently, it changes how your brain reacts to other scenarios. So knowing how to anchor, how to be in your present moment, how to experience your body, that's how it helps change your brain from automatically switching to autopilot all the
Mhm.
time and being mindless to, again, that powerful experience of actually having choice and developing the part of your brain that allows you to process complex thinking
In the present.
in the present.
In the
Exactly.
present. Anchor in the present. That's good. I like that. Anchor in the present. So we have neuroplasticity, where our brain is malleable. It's like plastic. It can change.
Mhm.
Um, Whereas though before, old thinking and old ways of old research said it couldn't change. We have this old brain and this new brain. The old brain acts out of survival, the fight, flight, or flight. However, in the practice of mindfulness, we start developing the new brain, where we have those other more positive, present emotions and conditions that can move us forward, like empathy, like problem solving, and then changing our brain, excuse me, the practice of mindfulness, changing our brain and how it develops is anchoring in the present. I like that. Thank you so much. And the
Yep, you got
video
it.
also, yeah, gives us that foundation piece of just scientifically how the brain works. And then it gives us the neuroplasticity term, and then the amygdala. Am I saying it correctly? Yes, the
You
other
got it.
term, because you want to be able to identify those terms, but I appreciate you breaking it down and making it simple for us. That's awesome. Next, we have Jennifer Grace. She is a not mindfulness expert, she is a mindset expert. And she did a TED talk on why mindfulness should be as important as math in our schools. And pretty much as an advocate, she created a curriculum and, fighting to get the curriculum through schools throughout the nation. One thing that she really focused on is the correlation between mindfulness and success, right? And health and wealth. So she really wanted to point out in her TED talk that mindfulness is the tool that really differentiates, which brings people to the other side and really to identify what success looks like in health and wealth. And that's what this course is about, really, to say, what does success look like for you? Because it looks different to each and every one of us. But this tool of mindfulness, as she clearly defines and provides some examples, will help you get there. And one thing that stood out to me was her definition of mindfulness. She defined it as paying attention to your present moment, as we just spoke about, experience with an openness, curiosity, the practice of being here and now. So we did touch on that. And I think that's so important because life is moving so fast, right? We have so many things on our plate. So for us just to stop and be in our present here and now is a gift, is really something that we have to be intentional about. I know for myself, right? Many times you feel as though if I stop and be in the present, I'm not going to get anything done. But it does help us more than hinder us, despite popular belief, right? So is there anything else, Sandy, you would like to add when it comes to defining mindfulness? One thing you talked about before in our conversation was that this practice is simple. Maybe expand on that again.
Sure. So mindfulness is, as you say, it's a tool, it's a skill. And what it needs is consistency. It's not complicated. It is about carving out space in your day. The ideal is 12 minutes. If you can do 12 minutes a day or build up to that, where you are anchoring in your present moment, then your neuroplastic brain will begin to anchor into that and really understand, and formulate its abilities to catch your wandering mind. And that is what mindfulness is. It's this practice in catching your mind wandering and finding calm amidst the kind of clutter that you experience in every day. Right. So if you can, it's not about not having thoughts, but it is about being able to catch yourself when you're wandering.
That's the practice.
Yeah. That's the practice, catching yourself when you're wandering.
Yeah.
Now, so when you are present, it means that you are experiencing life and not in your wandering mind. Right. So it's very much like physical exercise where, imagine yourself doing like a bicep curl, right? You're kind of working your muscle and you're having to do reps, right? We know this term reps, repetition. You have to do it a certain amount of times to experience a result, right? To experience tone or growth, build muscle growth. It's the same thing. If you think of your brain as a muscle, you have to have repetition and consistency. So by science, we know that if you can sit or be in meditative experience for at least 12 minutes a day, or build up to that 12 minutes, then you are going to build those neural pathways that you need to be in clarity.
Nice. Okay. Makes sense. So I have here in mindfulness practice, what are negative emotions, and what are our positive emotions? We talked about this during our sessions and practicing. If you can kind of share with the audience, maybe how we identify those negative emotions versus the positive emotions and how they work together, because they do, right?
Sure. We can narrow down our emotions into kind of two buckets, really simple: love, fear. So if you think about and then think of the range of emotions that radiate out of fear. You can have frustration, you can have anger, you have envy, jealousy, anything, anxiety, all of those things can come out of fear, right? They're kind of, if you think of a bicycle wheel, like spokes out of the center, then these are the emotions that elevate out of fear, right? When you're, whereas love is this other center emotion where we can have, adoration, joy, peace, passion, creativity, all of these other things come from love. And emotions are messy. And I want to be clear for everyone to understand that negative emotions are not bad. Right. It feels like they are because we say negative emotions. And so, we can think of it differently. But the problem with either emotion, either way of being emotion, is that we get stuck in the emotion. We get stuck in the story, right? So what you don't want to be is angry. Angry is healthy and you should experience it and have it. But what you don't want to be is angry in the same story over and over again for a lengthy period of time.
Right.
That is not helpful. One, your body is responding to an event, a perceived event. And so it's going to react to that event and protect you, right? So if it
Okay.
thinks that you're in threat, it's going to spew out cortisol and all these things that you need when you're actually in physical threat, but you're not, because you're just going through an anger story, an anger movie,
Playing the tape back.
playing a tape back. And those chemicals that your body is spewing out to protect you can become very toxic, because you're actually not running or reacting in the way that you are. You're just probably sitting and thinking about why you're angry, right? So
That's, like you said, that could be very toxic, because they do mention how some of those negative emotions, how they affect the body. They bring on weight. They, can start breaking down your body internally, that can cause disease or just have all types of malfunctions or dysfunctions in
yeah,
how
and
you
we think of
operate.
it, think of it this way: your body is just protecting you, because
Mm,
your body thinks that you are in threat. And every time you play that movie in your mind, it thinks that it's in a threat situation. So all your body is doing is actually protecting you. But again, your mind, your body cannot tell the difference between an actual threat and a perceived threat. So every
mm,
time you are in your story, you are having kind of this backlash effect on your body. Whereas if you are doing it in a present moment, I'm thinking through this to find a solution to my problem, that's very
right.
different. That is an active, you're in your prefrontal cortex, your new brain, and you're problem solving, or you're finding creative solutions. Whereas if you're in your survival old brain, you're just being reactionary, and you are causing a chain reaction in your body as well. So, but negative emotions are great. They have stimulated change in our society for thousands of years. So it's not to say don't experience negative emotions. One of the best examples, and my favorite example that I hold for myself, is, you look at the life of Nelson Mandela and what he was able to experience throughout his lifetime. He
Right.
experienced a tremendous amount of anguish and hate and unfair treatment throughout his life, and watching what it was happening within his community and society.
Right.
He was in jail for much of his life, and yet he did not wallow in his anger and frustration. And he actually evolved his life and was able to react despite all the hate that came into his life. He was able to turn it around and act out of love,
Right.
right? And pride, and just being able to bring this tremendous change into his
The
life
world.
and into the world, into his society, his community. And so I think for me, that is always this pivotal example of how one man took the hate that came into his life, and he used that and he turned it into love and made tremendous impact and change.
Yes, that's totally true. And that's why I appreciate how you did those two buckets, love and fear. So you have both of them, you're going to experience both of them, but it's kind of navigating and not sitting in the fear, and making sure you're going to that place of love too, like you said, and using all those attributes and characteristics within that space of love. It's almost like you're going back and forth, but in that transition back and forth, that you're holding more onto the left piece, and really, like I said, using those attributes and characteristics to problem solve, to embrace, to be more empathetic, to make sure you're making that positive impact instead of, like you said, sitting in the fear or the hate. That's
Yeah,
great.
just a simple tip for anyone that is going through life and going through maybe hard times or stress, and thinking, why is this happening to me? As an act of just, is something that's kind of like, why are all of these things happening to me? Is this simple ability to change that two to a four. 2 to a 4. So instead of saying, why is this happening to me? You can ask yourself the question, why was this happening for me? What is the opportunity or gift that's happening? And sometimes, depending on the level of what you're experiencing, the answer doesn't just pop up just because you ask the
Right.
question. But if you continue to stay in this mindset of opportunity and that there's a gift somewhere, that
Mhm.
even in the hardest of times, there is a reason for it, and there is something on the other side of the tunnel for you on that.
Right.
Keep asking yourself the question, why is this happening for me?
Why is this happening for me? Yep. Why is it, again, just, I'm kind of going blank, but we talked about that in the last slide in reference to, moving it forward, transitioning into that positive space and mindset. Just why is this happening for me? Not why is this happening to me?
Yeah. So
Maybe,
if you are experiencing something that's stressing you out or made you angry or made you
Mhm.
sad or anything, instead of doing the replay of the story over and over again and feeling that over and over again without any solution, one way is one way to get into your mindful state is to give yourself 10 minutes of just quiet time and ask yourself the question, why is this happening for me? Why did this
Mhm.
happen for me? And you can
Because
just ask.
you're going to get some answers. Things are going to pop into your head. You're asking the right question, right? They say you're not asking the right question. Ask the right question. Why is this happening for me? And in that moment of meditation, you'll see eventually,
Yeah,
maybe not right away.
you definitely maybe not right away, but what it's doing is it's starting to build your pathway in your brain, literally build the pathway that's taking you closer to your prefrontal, the front
Mm,
part of your brain that can process the
that,
situation versus that fearful reactionary part of your brain, that old brain.
yeah,
So just by asking
exactly.
a simple question, it moves, literally physically moves your awareness from the part of your brain that's not going to serve you to the part of the brain.
That will serve you. That's what I blanked on. Yes, that you're developing that new brain.
Yeah.
Yes. Awesome. So pretty much that was the next question, which we shared. Share with us some techniques of how we can regulate our negative emotions into our positive emotions. So again, taking that quiet time, that meditation time, so you can reflect and ask the right question. Why is this
Yeah.
happening for me?
And it's really important to understand meditation gets a bad rap, and everyone thinks it's
Mm,
something where you have to like sit cross-legged and be, like a monk or like zone out and,
right.
burn incense or something like that. It really isn't that. It can be, but it doesn't need to be. You can do standing meditation, you can do walking meditation, you can
Mm,
lie, sit down in a chair, or you can sit cross-legged. It's up to you. It's not about that. It's more about, again, being present and just really dropping from your brain, your thinking into
mhm.
your body.
Into your body. And that's what
And
I appreciate so much about this practice is that you have the choice. And I think many times in our society, when people deal with situations, they feel as though they're confined or they may not have a choice, right?
Mhm.
So in this practice, like you said, it's simple in the sense that you just have to ask yourself the right questions, make up your mind that, you want to go from this old brain into the new brain. And if you're having those day-to-day conversations, if you will, or sitting still in reflections, you'll get to that place because it's a natural progression if you allow yourself to feel it. And that's what I really do appreciate about the practice of mindfulness. It's not complicated. It's not, oh, you have to do this way. I mean, of course, there's certain techniques that support you, but as you move along in it and you're introduced to it, you'll find that in your day to day, there's ways that you can practice it, and it's as simple as you kind of just being present. So, with that being said, Sandy, if you don't mind, if you could lead us in a mindfulness exercise, just so our audience can get a feel of what it looks like and how it feels for them to be in that present state.
Sure. Um, Happy to do so. And I will just to piggyback on what we were just talking about to set us up for this meditation.
Mhm.
Again, inviting everyone to just find their comfortable space where it's quiet And if that means putting some headphones on just to block out the noise, then go ahead and
Right.
do so. You can sit in a chair, you can sit on the floor, you can lie down, or you can stand. It's up to you. Just a few helpful tips on a healthy meditation or mindful routine is you want to aim for a minimum of 12 minutes a day. If that means that you start off with 30 seconds, 60 seconds, and build up, do that, right? Don't get discouraged because you can't sit 12 minutes the first time around. If you're new to this, it does not matter. Don't get discouraged. It's like anything, a new skill that you're trying to build, start small and build up to it, and just practice.
Right.
And a simple framework to understand is that thoughts will happen, accept that thoughts and distractions are natural. So don't try to be trying to go to a perfect space where it'll be absolutely quiet or nothing will happen or you won't have a thought. That's not the aim here. Thoughts will happen. Stillness is inside everyone. So awareness that you will always have your pure being, that inner self, that stillness in you, no matter what. Have an anchor. So as you close your eyes or go inward, it's helpful to have an anchor. The anchor could be a mantra, like, why is this happening for me? Or your physical sense, such as your breath, that physical sensation of your breath, or touch, rubbing the palms of your hands together, or even sound, listening to the sounds around you and just pointing in on those. And then whenever you have a thought or you have a distraction, you accept that you have that, and then you come back to your anchor whenever you're distracted. And then allow your mind to soothe pain. So when you have an unsettling thought, you allow your mind to actually go to that experience and have that uncomfortable feeling. And you'll notice that your mind provides comfort. You can ignore your feelings the rest of the day, but in this space, really just feel your feelings and then come back to your anchor. And so with that being said, let's begin with our meditation for today, our mindful meditation. It is a body scan, so just an exercise to get us into our. So again, allow your body to find a comfortable way to be, and let your posture be upright but not uptight. And if it feels okay for you, close your eyes and place your attention to the sensations of your breathing body. If you decide to keep your eyes open, that's okay. Just allow your gaze to rest on the floor so that you don't have any visual distractions. See if you can connect and hold your attention to the full length of your in-breath. Allow yourself to experience the full length of that inhale, the whole thing. See if you can connect and sustain your attention to the full length of the out. Allow yourself to experience the full length of the exhale, the whole. So inhale and exhale. As you continue to become more aware of your breathing body, slowly bring your attention to your forehead. Feel the energy of your mind behind your eyes at the temples. Let go of any tension in the muscles of your face. Bring awareness to the hollow space of your mouth. And see if you can release any tension at your neck or throat. As you send the breath down into the body, begin to pour your awareness into your body. Bring awareness across the top of your shoulders. Again, releasing any tension. Let your awareness slowly move down into your biceps and elbows. down into your forearms and wrists. Bring your awareness into your hands, feeling the sensations of all 10 fingers. If you begin to recognize your mind is wandering, or that you become lost in your thoughts, plans, or memories, just take a short pause and bring your attention back to your anchor. It's your breathing body. As you continue to do this over and over, just bring in an attitude of kindness and empathy for yourself. You're doing the best that you can. Bring attention to the center of your body and feel the sensations of your breath in your belly. Maybe notice the rise and fall of your stomach as you inhale and exhale. Feel the weight and pressure of your body, whether you're sitting down in a chair or on the floor or laying down. Now bring your awareness across the top of your thighs into your knees, down to the front of your legs, feeling your shin bone in the front and the muscles of your calves in the back. And finally arrive down inside your feet as they rest on top of the floor, putting your full awareness into your left foot and then slowly into your right foot. And when you are ready, you can gently open your eyes.
Very nice. Thank you so much, Sandy.
Thank you, Christina.
Yes, yes. So let me stop sharing. Okay, so that was a great overview and just some deep dive conversation on the practice of mindfulness. I thank you so much again, Sandy, for your expertise and your patience and your kindness for being here with us today. I'm going to